Yes, yes, Sir Hairless here. We are back with Lara Fabian. This was a patron request, so thank you for this one. It's a medley of 2 songs from the film Yentl, where the character Yentl was played by Barbara Streisand. The 2 songs are Papa Can You Hear Me and Piece of Sky. Papa Can You Hear Me comes towards the beginning of the film, where Yentl, the character, is about to go off on her adventures. She doesn't really have a plan in place. There's not much certainty around everything. A lot of questions. And Piece of Sky, that comes right at the end of the film. It's how the film ends, actually. It's quite a cool ending to the film. There's Babs. I can't show too much because of copyright. Let me go forward a few seconds. And this really cool shot. As we can see, she is sailing the seas, off on a new adventure, a new path of discovery. The first song, Papa Can You Hear Me, I have actually done a video on that one. That's just the film version with Barbara Streisand singing, which is probably worth checking out because, as usual, I delve into the music in different aspects. This Lara Fabian performance, I believe it's from 2006. I'm told Lara talks for about 2 minutes before the song starts. It's important context, so I'm going to stop talking. Let's get straight into it. She's barefoot. Not something I would have expected to come from Lara. It's weird because recently I filmed an Angelina Jordan video, her Bohemian Rhapsody, and she always performs bare feet. Interesting.
Merci beaucoup. Merci Paris. Merci infiniment. J'ai 14 ans. Un dimanche après-midi, mes parents m'emmènent au cinéma. Dans ma ville.
We have English and French subtitles here, the audio in French. I'm not going to say the audio in English. Hopefully we can read that here.
Natale à Bruxelles, aux Galeries de la Reine. C'est un endroit tout en verrière. Au moindre son, l'écho le fait s'envoler. Ce dimanche-là, il m'emmène voir un film exceptionnel. C'est l'histoire d'une femme exceptionnelle qui se battra même contre sa propre religion pour élever sa foi. C'est le genre de femme qui m'inspire. Ce dimanche-là, en sortant de ce cinéma, je vole. Je suis certaine d'avoir entendu la plus grande des musiques et surtout d'avoir vibré au son de la plus extraordinaire des voix. À ce moment-là, moi aussi, tout d'un coup, je me mets à rêver que peut-être un jour, je deviendrai celle que je rêve d'être.
I like the slow-mo there, very dramatic. I've mentioned before on my channel, I believe, but Barbara Streisand was one of Lara Fabian's big idols. She really looked up to her, and that's why she is going to be singing 2 songs from the film Yentl as an encore of a performance this is.
This flickering candle illuminate the night. The way your spirit illuminates my soul.
I like how the subtitles at the bottom are shaking around the place.
Can you hear me? Papa, can you see me? Can you find me in the night? Papa, are you near me? Papa, can you see me? Papa, can you help me not be frightened? Looking at the skies, I seem to see a million eyes. Which ones are yours? Where are you now? Like yesterday, as we've been buying through the it's stars. The night is so much darker. The wind is so much colder. The world I see is so much bigger now that I'm alone. Papa, please.
A lovely Lara-ism, as I call it there, that very heavy breath in.
So much bigger now that I'm alone. Papa, please.
I mean, she looks like she's about to cry, just so much emotion in the performance. Like I said before, I've done a video on Papa Can You Hear Me from the film, Barbara Streisand, incredible performance, incredible performer. It's a very interesting song musically. The melodies sometimes just are as maybe they shouldn't be. The harmonies we get are a little bit strange, and it's a very difficult song to sing because of that. Jumps in the melodies that we don't really anticipate, I suppose, especially if it's your first time listening to it. Lara Fabian is one of the few people I think who can cover this song because the tuning is just so on point.
Papa, are you near me? Papa, can you see me? Papa, can you help me?
This little bit that we just heard, let's listen to that again. Not the most complex of a melody, that's not the point. It's repeating, Papa, can you hear me? Papa, can you this? Papa, can you that? And we have these oohs in the backing vocals, which are really nice. They're providing a bit of polyphony voice to voice, as well as the other instruments that we get, like the piano. We get this descending chromatic line.
Are you near me? Papa, can you see me? Papa, can you help me not be frightened?
And the melody, the way it's designed, these jumps, especially when sung at this pitch, Lara is choosing to sing it in the same key as the original.
Not be frightened.
And just in case you haven't seen the film, you know, this is a very good image to see. She's there sleeping in the middle of a forest or something, you know, she doesn't know where she is. She's been abandoned. She's saying, Papa, can you help me not be frightened? And typically, well, often as we see in songs, when the music is portraying fear, which we can think of as, you know, a weaker type of sound than someone who's dancing around all happy, powerful singing, we could expect the singing to be weak or soft. And Lara is doing that, just as Babs did. But there's also a lot of power to the sound.
See me, Papa, can you help me not be frightened?
It's the delicate switching between the kind of blended voice and a bit of air coming through on the top. Quite a chesty sound, actually, at the bottom. Then the next phrase.
Looking at the skies, I seem to see a million eyes. Which ones are yours?
Power, power, power. What note is that? That is our wow operatic tenor moment. That's the start of the song. A really good representation of how you can get power in the sound, conviction, confidence in the sound without necessarily singing at a high volume. Fairly low down as well. And generally speaking, for women whose ranges are much higher than, for example, men basses, lower down, it's harder to get power and strength behind the sound. I think when I was watching the first time, I might have done this with my face. So maybe you saw me doing that. I'm basically trying to replicate that style of singing. And we can see that she's doing that with her mouth. This type of sound is not really a type of sound I've heard from her before. You know, we can hear that. It's different. It's audibly different. And it's really interesting. And I will be watching out for this in the remainder of the performance, how her mouth shape changes as she sings different things. It will always change when you sing words, but here on just God, monosyllabic, just one syllable, or all the different mouth shapes that she's going through. It's really interesting. What did Babs do? Much more of an R and forward kind of open vowel sound. We do get the backing singers just like in the original song, just here they are diegetic, shall we say, because we can see them. In the film, you know, there's no one there. We can't see anyone. We can't see anyone playing the music in the background. So that's a great example of non-diegetic music in film.
Papa, can you hear me?
It's almost like she's added in another syllable to hear. Hear me. I don't think it's an accent thing. It's just an affectation that she's choosing to do.
Papa,
whispering Papa.
can you hear me?
And again, you can see the lip really move up as she adds in that extra syllable.
Hear me? Papa.
Lovely chord in the backing singers as well. What is that? So our chord is B flat minor, but we also have this at the bottom. Nice and scrunchy, and then that moves down. overall so far, there aren't too many differences between the arrangements. I mean, there are obviously some, but nothing that really stands out. I think it's more important actually in this video to discuss how she is making it her own, if not through completely rearranging the song, and it's through all these affectations that she's doing. Really cool to see. Let's carry on and see what she does with the rest of it.
Papa, please forgive me, try to understand me. Papa, don't you know I had no choice? Can't you hear me praying? Anything I'm saying, even though the night is filled with the voices, I remember everything you taught me, every book I've ever read. We are the books and our words, help me to face what lies ahead. The trees are so much taller, I feel so much smaller. The moon is twice as lonely, and the stars are half as bright. Papa.
I feel like I'm getting quite a bit more of a sh type of S sound, not clear sibilance. Just can't really remember if that's what she normally does or not. The other thing that makes a noticeable difference, I think,
Try to understand me, Papa, don't you know
she's being much more liberal with the rhythms, and she's making sure to change them up compared to the original film. In the original film, things are a tiny bit more regimented or less free or sporadic feeling, shall we say?
Papa, please forgive me.
Chum, 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 chum. A slight lilt, dotted rhythms, but LARA FABIAN is really changing things up. Sometimes they're super, super quick.
Oh, I had no choice. Can't you hear me praying?
You know, we can almost not understand what she's saying because it's so quick, and it adds a level of urgency to the sound, almost like a level of desperation, like she's panicking. You know, what we do when we become desperate, we start panicking, and then you have to, whoa, sit back and calm down.
How I love you, Papa.
Now, calmer.
How I need you, Papa. How I miss
Nice slow note.
you, kissing on me.
Sing out me. So straight into Piece of Sky. Okay. I was wondering if there would be some sort of, well, medley, mix and matching, but Piece of Sky, the song that comes at the end of the film, it does incorporate moments from Papa Can You Hear Me into the song. It's reusing some of the motifs, and it completes this kind of cycle from the start to the end, the adventure going round. Let me just show you a couple of clips so you can hear it for yourself.
Papa, can you see me? Amazing things, can you understand me?
Papa, can you see me? Can you understand me? Now we have this major uplifting bouncy music underneath, which is very, very different to the somber, desperate feeling of Papa, can you hear me that we've just heard. There's more obvious reuse of material later on, actually. I guess we can call it a direct homage.
Papa, I can see you. Papa, I can feel you.
The music now back to the minor like before, just much more powerful. So I'll be curious to see what LARA does here. She did just start, which is the same key as the original.
It all began.
But the harmony, I mean, we haven't really heard much yet. Maybe it's because I've still got Papa Can You Hear Me in my head, is slightly different. But we'll come to that in a second.
How I love you.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Her breaths, I think, are really an important part of her performances. The bits in between the sung notes, the bits in between the music. It can be a silence, or in the case of LARA, it will be an intense breath. And I think they add so much intensity. They're one of those things where once you notice them, then you can't stop noticing them.
How I need you.
And I love how the backing vocals 4-part just come in midway through her word, just before we move on to Piece of Sky.
Kissing on me.
She's gone one step further now. She has literally added on a vowel that does not exist in the word kissing. Kissing ah. But it just sounds natural. It's part of the drama that she creates. And then on Good Night. the lip moving up and down. It's just so interesting to see. Here, of course, she goes up, which we do not get in the original. The original just goes straight onto before the music does, so it seems a little bit premature in a way. All right, well, onto Piece of Sky, the second song.
It all began the day I found that from my window I could only see a piece of sky. I stepped outside and looked around. I never dreamed it was so wide.
Sorry, I just want to quickly say she's performing this as an encore back to back, I guess. The story here is really important to understand. I always say context is everything. The stark contrast in the feelings between the two. The second song here reusing musical material that we got before, but just completely transformed because of the different context. And now it seems that Lara is literally changed. She's like a energetic. Her dress, it looks like a wedding dress, almost like a newlywed woman who's off on a new adventure into her life, just as Yentl was off an adventure into her life. Maybe I'm clutching at metaphors or comparisons here, but you know, it's the feeling we're getting. Barefoot, running around, energized now.
Or even half as high, the time had come. Papa, can you see me? To try my wings, can you understand me? And even though I know at any moment I could fall, I felt the most. Papa, can you see me? Amazing things, can you understand me? The things you can't imagine if you never flown at all. Though it's safer to stay on the ground. Sometimes when danger lies, there the sweetest of pleasures are found. No matter where I go, there'll be memories that tuck at my sleeve. There will also be but a question yet more to believe. So tell me where is that someone who will turn to look at me and want to share my every sweet imagined possibility. The more I live.
Did you catch enough of that there?
The more I live.
She's allowed to. She can get away with it. Adding in vowels, adding in syllables where she wants. It's fine. It works. That is particularly funny, I think. I had kind of not forgotten Piece of Sky, but I didn't really remember it, especially not by heart. I did listen to it a couple of times before doing this video in preparation whilst watching the clip. And at that moment, let me find it, we do get a complete change like we got in Lara's performance. But being a film, it's done differently.
The more I live, the more I learn.
And there she comes now onto the deck of the boat from the darkness. Right, well, let's just go over a few things we've heard in Piece of Sky so far. Like we established before we started listening, it's an upbeat song. It's in the major, it's very rhythmic. This live performance though, I love what they've done with it. The instrumentation, cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha. It's a very cool rhythmic pattern, kind of Mediterranean in a way. It makes me just want to go on holiday, especially as things are now getting very cold where I am. Be in the sun, listening to that cha-cha-cha, cha-cha-cha. Music and its rhythms, I think, are so powerful in how it makes us feel. If you whack on some like disco music or something, or salsa or cha-cha music, you know, it will be very difficult to listen to that and remain feeling gloomy and sad. So that's the purpose of this song. Coming at the end, now Yentl is off on her adventure. Very uplifting. We don't know what's happening, but that's the part of the excitement.
Yes.
Oh. I mean, Lara sounds a bit manic there, laughing. Haha, yes. We'll wait to see how that carries on.
And even though I know at any moment I could fall.
And now we're getting, I just bit my cheek. And now we're getting the real Lara moments. The vowel sound, or how she pronounces moment and on full.
I know at any moment I could fall.
It's like she just locks into a note, an over vibrato, straight tone, and it's just power. She's running around the stage, very excitable, just to show you how similar but different it is to the original.
The things you can't imagine if you've never flown at all.
You understand me?
can't imagine if you've never flown at all.
So overall, the feeling is the same. I feel like this is much more of a live performance, and the arrangement is catered to a live performance to trigger an emotional reaction in a live audience that are there in front of you. In the film, the music is much more orchestral, as you might expect with film music. Like I say, it's non-diegetic. Barbara Streisand is singing there on the ship, but there are no instruments around her. There are no people playing behind her. So they can just have a full orchestra playing in the background, all these crazy sounds.
No matter where I go, there'll be memories that tuck at my sleeve.
I like how they're all walking on the spot, including the backing singers. And Lara did go high there, up to a D now, so we're moving up slowly but surely.
Where is that someone who will turn to look at me? And
Lovely flowing piano in the background. These arpeggios very quick, moving up and down, almost like waves. For some reason, I'm picturing waves. Maybe it's because of piece of sky that she's on a boat. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's carry on and see what happens with the rest of this one.
the more I live, yes, the more I learn, the more I learn, the more I realize, the less I know. Each step I take, Papa, I have a voice now. Each page I turn, Papa, I have a choice now. Each mile I travel only means the more I have to go. What's wrong with the wanting more? If you can have a lot and so where there is, why settle for just
and down.
a piece of sky? Papa, I can see you. Papa, I can hear you. Papa, I can feel you. Papa, watch me fly.
Here comes the standing ovation, slow motion again, dramatic at the end. I think it's important to remember that this is an encore performance. So it comes after she's already done a show, and the power that's required for these last phrases. That's a D, like we had before. And the power comes in different facets. Straight tone into vibrato.
I can see you. Papa,
Now she's saying you, but it sounds like yah, kind of.
I can hear you. Papa, I can feel you.
Yeah. So we've had yah and yeah. Thinking about it, I don't really know of any or many other singers who are so free and liberal with vowel sounds and adding in things like we spoke about before. It always makes for an exciting watch because you never know what's going to come, even on the most basic words like you.
More I realize,
It's really deep down, and then
the less I know.
did you hear how nasally that was on the less I know?
Realize, the less I know. Each step I take.
And now she goes into speaking and running around. There's just a lot of variety in the performance, basically. And I think that's why she's so good at what she does. Just becoming so engrossed and involved in it. And yeah, I think someone said she is as much acting as she is singing, because she's not just on stage reciting words to a melody. No, there's everything else involved. Yeah, that's a really cool and interesting take on these songs. I only saw the film Yentl recently because Barbara Streisand's Papa Can You Hear Me won a poll, and I kind of thought the songs from that film would be good to sing live. Well, now we've seen it through LARA FABIAN, which I think is a great example of someone to sing them live. Well, let's leave that one there. A longer video than usual, I think. So if you made it this far, thank you very, very much. Would really appreciate it if you gave the video a like to help the algorithm, or leave some comments down below. Other songs you'd like to see, or if you don't want to write any words, let's go for an emoji. Let's go for a strong bicep emoji to represent the power that is LARA FABIAN's voice. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next one.